Welcome to the newest episode of Beautifully You. Today we're going to be talking about the talent and the passion of cooking, baking, and all things making food for other people. We are specifically told not to deny hospitality to strangers in Hebrews chapter 13, verse 2. So that's going to be one of the base verses. The other base verse is going to be Matthew 25:35. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. When we are feeding others and we're having that hospitality, we're living out that Matthew 25 whole chapter about being hospitable, sharing your talent of cooking, but also bringing in your Christian lifestyle into perspective for somebody else. It doesn't have to be a Bible study all the time to let somebody know that there's a God that cares for them. There is the only God that cares for them. And we have the way to help them get to that point of their steps to salvation, how to help people find their path if maybe they've been a Christian, but they fell off track because they just got caught up in the world. And that happens sometimes. And sometimes you're just like, I need to have dinner. I need to have lunch. Like, let me just go meet up with this person, hang out, check up on them. And that's one of the great things about being able to cook is you have this trait, you have this whole passion that you love to do that is of great service to other people. This is going to be kind of a short and sweet podcast. I have school starting up, which a bunch of us do, very shortly, August 1st for a lot of us. For my friends in Alabama, they don't start till later. I think it's the week after I start. But I say all that to say a lot of podcasts coming out. Gonna be recording back to back, so if you notice the same outfit, it's the same day. I promise I don't wear the same thing every time I record. So hospitality, cooking, being open with your household. I've heard so many people and they're like, "Oh, I have to clean my house before you." No, you don't. It's the whole point of being hospitable as a Christian is a mentality standpoint, not a visual what your house looks like. Because I'm going to be honest with you. If you love to cook, nobody's going to care what your house looks like because they're going to leave and be like, wow, that was really good. Not, oh, well, they had a basket of laundry. No, that's not what it's about. It's all in the quality of the time that was spent over that feast that you have prepared for your guests, or vice versa. The meal that you ate that was made by somebody that you go to church with or at another church, in a congregation that you're visiting. Regardless, it's a way to show hospitality. Jesus had so many times where he ministered over meals, like feeding the 5,000, the Last Supper, and then meals with sinners. We see so many of those. And then we even see whenever there's a song about a time with Zacchaeus, with a wee little man, and Jesus was like, we're going to go to your house. We're going to have a meal. We're going to sit down. We're going to talk. And that's so important as members of the church to have just maybe you're not even eating, or maybe you baked a cake and you're like, hey, I made this for a party and I have some leftovers. You want to come eat some? You want to come have some? Try it, blah, blah, blah. Get them into your home, show them a Christian lifestyle, be who you need to be for God. Cooking becomes an act of service to not necessarily put on display your gifts, but utilizing your gifts in the way that God intended. That is a theme of our life, utilizing God's gifts to live in the way that He intended. Because if we're not living in a way that is pleasing to God, we're not living correctly. There's not a loophole in the Bible that says, well, you can do this and just skip out on this part and you'll be fine. Utilize every opportunity that you have to share your gifts, because it's not in a boastful manner. It's always going to be a way to share what it's supposed to look like to be congregating, to be sharing, to be just hanging out, having a good time with your Christian family, or with people that you're soon to be adding to your Christian family. They're looking for a church home. They're looking to be baptized, but they want to study. Be that person. Use your cooking abilities to go do whatever, take food to whoever, and have that open door in your home and in your heart to serve for other people the way that God sent his son to serve. Live like Jesus. That was a big part of my last episode's theme. Living not only the way that Jesus intends in the way that he lives, but for us to kind of mimic as much as we can how he lived in our lifestyle. Sometimes we're even baking, cooking, meal prepping for people who had surgeries, had a baby, just had a big death in the family. I mean, there's so many opportunities that are offered as a way of support, not necessarily as a way of evangelizing. Sometimes we're not always going to be up for a Devo, like I mentioned earlier. It's not going to be Bible study 24/7, although that would be great. Always learn something new because you're never going to know it all. It's important to use that trait and that ability to go and to help people feel heard, help them feel supported and loved by their church family. We are not to neglect anybody, especially if we have a way to help them, to support them, to make food for them, because it gets hard when life situations like that happen and it just tears you down. You don't really have a lot of leeway in what you're doing because, I mean, you're mourning or you're struggling or you had a surgery and you physically cannot cook for yourself. And then it builds that relationship in the church of people building those food trains to come through, and someone's at your house every night leaving meals at your door, and sometimes they'll come in and sit down with you and just give you somebody to talk to. It always leads to more. Your gifts and your talents from God are never just a time waster. It's never just something to do whenever you're bored. It is always intended to have that second purpose, which, if we're thinking about it the way that we should be, I want to say it's our first purpose for these talents, to be used to glorify God. And then it just so happens that, oh, I love doing this. It's your perspective. Your perspective on everything in life is going to change how you think about this. Same with relationships, friendships, family. Your perspective on everybody and how you serve them relates to your relationship with God, how you respond to him, how you talk to him, just like I talked about in the last episode about prayer and how that affects your communication with other people. Your dedication, your support, your love, and your drive by your talent will carry you so far if you let it. The next episode, we're going to be talking about Christian relationships, godly relationships, and having God be the center of whatever relationship you have with whoever you're dating, or maybe even sometimes friendships. We might have to find ourselves forgiving people because God forgave us. Because, like I said, if you can't forgive somebody, God's not going to forgive you. And there's this whole big circle that we have. So we're going to get to talking about that in the next episode of Beautifully You.